Hi everyone! So some of you liked it when I solved a sudoku puzzle in a recent video, and I like sudokus too, so let's do it again. Now, in honor of a recent Carry KH video I made where you can only breathe if the timer is prime, let's solve this prime number sudoku. Now the normal sudoku rules are going to apply, so it's 1 to 9 in each row, column, and box. And multi-digit numbers are going to read left to right and top to bottom. But if we look at the puzzle, there's no number clues to go off of, but there are symbols in between each two cells. So if we have a purple dash, a green square, and a red cross. Now, if we look at the purple dash, it means that the two cells surrounding it, like right here, are going to spell out a two-digit prime number. So it could be like 17, or it could be like, I don't know what else, like 53. Those are all valid, but you couldn't do something like 86 because that's not a prime number. Also, I did add all these visual effects for when you type on it, and some people might call it distracting. I think it's fun. Anyway, that's the purple dash, and it also works true vertically. So this one here could be like 31 because that's a prime number, but it couldn't be like 55. Well, I guess 55 is not valid for other reasons too. But yeah, anyway, that's the purple dash. For the green square, that means that the two cells around it are going to spell out a two-digit perfect square. So here you could have 25, but you couldn't have 32. And then for the red cross, that just means that that two-digit number is not a prime or a square. And then if there's no symbol in between two cells, that means it could be a prime, it could be a square, it could be nothing at all. You basically know nothing about that two-digit number. So those are all the rules for this puzzle. You can take a screenshot now if you want to solve it yourself, because I think it is fun. I did make it a couple hours ago, and I tried to make it a bit more difficult to try to use more creative techniques. So just as a warning, there's that. But I think it should be solvable. But also, if you want to play this, you can go to the same link in the description that I'm playing at, which is htwins.net/sudoku prime. But I want to tell you how I solved it myself. In 3, 2, 1, spoilers! Okay, so when you look at this, how we're going to solve it, we don't have any numbers to get a footing off of in the first place. Well, when we think about the information we're getting between primes and squares, well, if we look at the two of them, we should probably pay attention to squares because there's fewer of them. And as an exact count, for primes, we're only caring about the two-digit ones, which is right here. Wait, why did they get cropped off? Okay, two-digit ones right here. So that's 21 primes, and there's only 6 squares because the lowest is 4 squared equals 16, and the highest is 9 squared equals 81. So squares are going to help us out at the beginning a lot more. And the most remarkable feature to me, it's this chain of 3 squares. It's one square leading into a second square, leading into a third square. So how can that happen? Well, if we look at the squares here, I kind of put an edge between two nodes if the last digit of one square, this 1, matches the first digit of another square. And so you could have these 3 squares making up that chain, or these 3, or these 3. And how do we know which one it's going to be? Let's just try out all of them. So one option is we have 16 leading into 64, leading into 49. But wait, that might not work because this purple dash says that this is supposed to be a prime number, and no primes end with 6 because that's even. So that's not going to work, but neither is 36 to 64 to 69. That's also not going to work. So those two options are invalid, which means the only option is this chain right here. 81 to 16 to 64. And if we look at it, that means that we could possibly have a prime here ending with 1. And actually, let's look at our options. We have, well, on this prime chart, this column is all numbers that end with a 1 digit. It could be, well, it couldn't be 11 because you can't have 2 ones in one column, but it could be 31, 41, 61, or 71. So I'm just going to type that in. Actually, 4 and 6 are already in this box, so it can only be 3 or 7 actually, because 41 and 61 are already thrown out the window. Okay, so that's one place where you can get a footing. The other place is right in this area, because we see a lot of green squares also. There must be something interesting happening. So you have 2 squares with the same ending digit. And now, in some worlds, you could have the same square looping over twice like this if they weren't in the same box. But in this case, they are in the same box, so those 2 4s are not going to fly. We need 3 unique digits. So basically, we need 2 square numbers that end with the same digit. And if we look at that, the only way that's going to work is by having 16 and 36 both ending with 6. I'm going to cut off that 4 because we don't need it. So if we go back here, that means that this digit has to be a 6. And we don't know which one is 16 and which one is 36. So we'll just put 13 and 13 there, and we'll figure out which is which later. But we're actually not done with this area yet, because what is this cell going to be? We see these red crosses, which tell us that whatever number we put in here, it cannot form a prime if it's succeeded by a 1 or a 3. So if we look at this primes chart, we're looking at this column of ending with 1 and ending with 3 here. So obviously it can't be a 1 or a 3 because it was already taken, but could it be a 4? Well, if we put a 4 there, 41 and 43 are both prime numbers. This would obviously not work. So 4 is out, but 5's out too because 53 is a prime. 6 is out too because 61 is a prime. 7's out, 8's out, and in fact, the only number that is valid is 9 because 91 and 93 are not primes, and that's the only way you're going to get something like that to work. So we could put a 9 there, and that's really fun because we didn't figure out what these numbers are, but we already know that 9 is in the final solution, locked in. Okay, so that's fun. What's next? Well, again, perfect squares just give us the most information. Let's look at this green square up here. Now, there's only 6 options for what perfect squares we can even have, 16 up to 81. But let's think. Could this be 16? Well, obviously not, because there's another 16 down here. 1s and 6s are repeated. In fact, we have to remove all perfect squares that have a 1 or a 6. So that means 81's out because there's a 1. These have 6. Our only remaining options are 49 and 25. So which one is it? Well, we don't know yet, but let's just try both of them. So it could be 49, it could be 25. Like, both are looking pretty good to me, right? Well, if we type in 49, what happens? This looks fine, but notice how there's 2 purple dashes branching out of this 9, which means that we're supposed to have 2 primes starting with a 9, and they can't have the same digit because, well, we'd have like the same digit repeating twice in one box. So if we look at the prime chart though, the entire 90s only has 1 prime number, 97. So there's just no way to get 2 numbers out of that. This would not work, obviously. So 49 is out of the picture. It does not work. It has to be 25. And what's lucky for us is that the 50s actually have exactly 2 prime options, 53 and 59. So, you know, we have very limited options that do work, 39, 39 and 39. We can just type those in. So that's really fun, but that's about all we can do in that area for now. Next, let's look at this column, and I want to bring up a concept of the prime ender. So all primes can only end with odd numbers, but they also can't end with a 5 because then they'll be divisible with 5. So they can really only end with 1, 3, 7, or 9. And before you talk about like, what about 2? What about 5? Again, we're only talking about 2-digit numbers, you know, because that's the way the puzzle's set up. So it really is just 1, 3, 7, or 9. I'm going to call those prime enders. So every row, column, and box in this puzzle is going to have 4 prime enders. So if you look at this column, here's 1 prime ender, 1. Here's another prime ender, 3, 7. And this is another prime ender, 3, 9. And now this square has to also be a prime ender because it literally is ending this prime here. So it could be, well, I mean, just brain dead, you can just spam 1, 3, 7, 9 for all of them, really, if you wanted to. Like you could. But we know it's not a 9 because of this, and we know it's not a 1 because of this. So it's either 3 or 7. But what does this tell us? Well, for all the other 5 digits, they can only go in the remaining other options. And in this case, the remaining digits are 4 and 8. The only places they can go are here and here. And that's all we can do right now. But if you look at the options, 9 can only go here because, well, it can't go here because 91 is not a prime, and it can't go here because there's a 9 in this row. And you know, the prime ender rule means that of the 4 prime enders, it just has to go here. This is the only space for it in the entire column. So we got to replace it with a 9, and then this will reduce to a 3. So now we have 53 and 59 both as prime numbers. Now this box has 4 spots that prime enders have to be, here, here, and then the remaining ones are 1, 7, and 1, 7. But you know, I just already mentioned that the 90s only have 1 prime number, 97 right here. So this is not 91. 91 equals 7 times 13, so that's invalid. So this has to be a 7, and this has to be a 1. And the remaining ones in this box are 4, 6, and 8, so we just spam that in. But because of this red X up here, this is not a prime number. but 43 and 83 are prime numbers. Fortunately, 63 is not, because both digits are divisible by 3. It's 21 times 3, which is 7 times 3 times 3, so yeah. And then between these, which is 48 and 48, this can't be 81, because then that would be a perfect square, but instead there's a purple dash, meaning it has to be the prime of 41. So there we go. Our first box is complete. We're already at least 1/9 the way done with the puzzle. 10 minutes in, I guess. Okay, let's pick up the pace. So, the next part of this puzzle that we're going to solve uses a technique that I don't know if it's advanced, but every time I use it in a Sudoku puzzle, I feel like it just feels really satisfying to me. So if you look at this middle box, and you look at this 8 clue right here, you know that the 8 can't go anywhere in this cluster, and it can't go in the right column. So the only options of where it can go are these 2 cells in the 4th row. We don't know which one, but we know it can't go in any of the other cells on the 4th row because it's reserved for one of these 2, right? So an 8 cannot go here, because then 8 could go. If 8 was here, there's nowhere for it to go in that middle box. So this has to be a 4. And then this one has to be an 8. And I think that's just so fun, because like there's kind of like a ghostly 8 that we never witnessed it with our own eyes, but we're able to use the power of that ghost to turn another 8 into a rock solid, tangible clue that we know is in the final solution. So there we go. That's another one. Okay. Well, this, because of the column 3 and 7 are already there. That's down to 19. Okay. So, actually, we're gonna get a lot of clues from this. So yeah. Okay. This is gonna there's gonna be a little bit of an easy portion until we get to the next interesting part, because the primes to start with 4 are in this row, 41, 43, and 47. And, well, 3 and 7 are right here, so that's just a 1. And that means that this is just a 9. So, it feels like that's a lot of progress, but yeah, don't worry, things will get more interesting later. Anyway, what is next? Okay, let's look at this row. So I mentioned earlier that every row has to have 4 prime enders, 1, 3, 7, and 9. 3 of them already are used here. And then there's also a prime ender right here to end this prime off. So this has to end with a 3. Now, if we look at this row, well, there isn't as much information about prime enders, but we know that this is 1, 3, 7, 9. Or actually just 1, 7, 9. I mean, it doesn't really matter. But then this is also 1, 7, 9 because it's, 1, 7, 9 here and then 1, 7, 9 here. So it looks like that's not that much information, but we have this vertical situation going on where this is not a prime. And because 3 is such a common prime ending, that's ringing alarm bells that we could get some information out of that. If we tried 1, we'd have 13, which is a prime. If we tried 7, 73 is prime, so that wouldn't work either. So it has to be a 9, because 93 is also divisible by 3, because 31, both digits are divisible by 3. It makes sense, right? So that's kind of fun, right? They got saved by virtue of not being primes, by being co-prime with each other. So that's really cool. Okay, so the next thing is, this is a very basic Sudoku thing. This isn't even a prime Sudoku thing. If we look at this box here and look at where the 8 clues are, there's an 8 here, an 8 here, and an 8 here. It has to go right here, obviously. So this brings us to the next kind of interesting prime Sudoku strategy that I want to show you, which is look at this box here, which has no clues, and where the 8 could go. So this 8 and this 8 block off the top 2/3. So it's got to be in the bottom row of this box. And it can't end a prime. No prime would end with an 8 and be valid. So that is not an option. But could it go here? Possibly. And also, if we look at our chart, we know that there are primes that start with 8. There's 2 of them, 83 and 89. So that seems valid. But wait, if we were to try 83, there's a 3 up there. And if we were to try 9, there's a 9 up there. Kind of by pure coincidence, or the stars misaligning, 8 can actually not go there. There's no prime that makes that work. So by process of elimination, 8 has to go here. And if we want to continue this process, this cell right here, like we said, 83 and 89 are the only options, but there's a 9 right there. So this reduces to 83. It's the only prime that will work down there. So that actually helps us reduce this set too, and also this one here. So everything is starting to collapse, like a superposition collapsing into place. And also this 1 means this is a 7? Interesting. Okay. So I think the next thing we're going to look at is this last green square, which I've saved for last, because usually you want to hit the prime square, the perfect squares first. So let's think about what cells these could be. Actually, let's just do this one for now. So it could be a 1 because 19 is prime. It could also be a 2. It could be a 6 or an 8. Well, I mean, those are the numbers left, but like 69 and 68 are not prime. So it can only be a 1 or a 2. And then this one, 17 is prime, 27 is not. 7 is prime, but 87 is not because it's divisible by 3. So the options are 1 and 6 because 17 and 67 are our valid primes. So let's just put those in there for now. It looks like not much is really formulating yet. But now let's think about this perfect square. What could it be? We have only 6 options. Well, it can't be anything with a 3, 4, or 5 in it. So that eliminates 3, 4, and 5. So the only options are 81 and 16. Now, it looks like both of those could actually fit because 1, 6, and 8 are allowed. But let's think about what happens if we were to type in 16. What would happen to this clue? Both options would be eliminated and there'd be literally no option for what that cell could be. So even though like there's no strict rule telling us we can't put in 16, it would just make this cell like combust. Like it would just not work out. So by process of elimination, we have to go with 81. And what's so fun about that is that it makes this prime situation collapse into yeah, well, you know. I'm not going to do the meme again. Like so that solves that one, and then by process of elimination, this is 29. So our primes here are 29, 67, the perfect square of 81, and then 53. So that's like a fun collection there. That I don't think I think couldn't happen in a normal Sudoku, right? Like knowing that 6, 7, and 1, 7 are the options. Anyway, yeah, so that's fun. So that gives us this 8 here. Oh, which is interesting because like, remember the kind of ghostly 8 I was talking about in this middle box, which could only be here and here because of this 8 here? Well, now we know exactly where it is. It's right here. And then, okay. So if we look at this 8 right here, the 8 in the upper left box, it actually can only go here. Wait, it's interesting because in a different time that I solved this puzzle, I used the ghostly thing twice. Like, I guess like I didn't solve this 8 clue first. I kind of saved it for last. So let's just leave it empty for now. Even though we know it's an 8, let's just pretend like we don't right now. Or let's pretend we didn't do the perfect square thing yet. Or I don't know, whatever. Which means also we wouldn't have this and this. Actually, no, we have to have this. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Let's just have that in there. So what I wanted to point out is like this last 8 right here. Oh, wait. Okay. So actually, no, the order I did it before was before I put in any of these tiles, I was trying to solve the 8 in this box. And I know that we already did all that, so like I know. But like just bear with me because I think what I was trying to design when I designed this puzzle, I wanted to have as many ghostly attacks as possible because I think those are really satisfying. So if you look at this box here, because of this 8 going shoop and making a ghostly 8 in these 2 cells, and then where does 8 go in this box? Well, this 8 here blocks off these cells. This 8 blocks off these cells. So the 8 can only go here or here. But again, we don't know which one it is. So we have another shoop, a ghostly attack attacking these cells. So it can't go here, here, or here. And this 8 means it can't go here and here. So like basically the entire perimeter of this box has been cut off and the 8 has to go in the middle. And we only knew that because of 2 real 8s and 2 ghostly 8s. And I feel like that's so satisfying. Like how often do you get to do something as rare as that? But anyway, like all of that's kind of moot point because we actually could still get all of these numbers in there before we got to that point, which makes it a little less satisfying because now there's a bunch of like solid 8s. We have actually all 9 8s on the board now, so we can forget about 8s. But you know, there's just it shows you can solve puzzles in different orders and still get the same conclusion. Okay, so that is fun. I'm trying to. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think if the next step is what I think it is, which it is. This is also another strategy I think is kind of cool. So we're getting to the point in these top rows where like there aren't that many. Okay, let's just solve 3. So 3 in this box. There's a 3 here. There's a 3 here and a 3 here. So it's gonna be here. And then you can do the same thing with 9. So 9 is here and here, so it's got to be here. So the strategy I want to point out here, which is like also I think might be unique to this type of puzzle, is which cells or which numbers could be in this cell. Well, let's just count up. It can't be 1 because of this. It can't be 2 or 3. It could be 4 or 5, but it can't be 6, 7, 8, or 9. Well, okay, but that doesn't really tell us much, right? Because like there's no other 4 5s nearby to kind of like reduce other stuff, but like it's just like whatever, right? But actually, there's something that we know about this. Because let's try to figure out where 9 goes in this middle left box. So this 9 here and this 9 here means it has to go in the top row, but this 9 eliminates it from here. So it can only either be here or here, but we don't know which one. But if we think about this, what would this mean? It means that this number is either 49, which is a perfect square, or 59, which is a prime. And neither of those would satisfy the red X, so that's actually not possible. So 9 has to go here. I think it's really cool because, again, we haven't figured, the 4 and 9, the 4 and 5 are ghostly, but they helped out. So thank you, 45. But now we know where the 9 is perfectly, which means something. I mean, we're making progress, obviously, but like I forget what the next step is. Oh, I know the next step. Okay, so let's look at the bottom row now because I remember there's something kind of interesting going on in the lower left corner. So there's a prime here. Prime enders, like when you reach a dead end, it's just like look at the prime enders, spam 1379. You know, like that's just the brain dead thing to do. And 3 and 9 are already here, so it's gonna be 1 and 7. But at this point, that's a low enough number of remaining digits. And like if we look at this cell, there's a lot of like cell numbers it can't be. It can't be 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, or 9. How many primes could this really be? So we're looking at 1 and 7. So that's this column and this column. And obviously we can't, I forget which ones we can't do, but we can't do 1, I remember that. So let's just do 3, 4, 6, 7, and 9 at least. Wait, why can't we do, well, I guess we could do 1. Okay, let's, hold on. Let's just include it. So 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9. Can we remember that at least? So it can't be 1. No, it can't be. Let's put in 1. So it could be 1, let's say, but it can't be 3, 4, or 6 because of the row. But it could be 7, and it can't be 9 because of the here. So it's really just 1 and 7. So this is either 17 or 71. There's something to do with that. I forget where that was going. I swear that led somewhere, but it's not leading anywhere right now. Maybe we need to solve more clues. Okay, so I guess that tells us that these are 1 and 7. So then this is like, the rest is 2, 4, 2, 5, and 9, which is interesting. I'll just type that in. I don't think that goes anywhere, but 2, 5, and 9. 2, 5, and 9. Wait, okay, so this was not a prime. 1. Wait, so which ones are not a prime? It could be 2. So like again, like it's a superposition of 1 and 7. So it could be 2, it could be 5. So anything that's like a prime on both sides is out of the question. So 2, 5. Oh, okay. 77 is never gonna happen. Let's just pretend the whole diagonal is just like not counted in this puzzle. It could be 8 or it could be 9. 2, 5, 8, or 9. Those are the numbers that work. 2, 5, 8, or 9. Oh, well look at that. So I said 2, 5, 8, or 9. But what do we have up here? 2, 8, and 9. So we know this has to be a 5 because that's the only remaining option. And, well, 51 and 57 are both divisible by 3, though. So, again, ghostly numbers still came in handy here. But I think that should, like, start to crumble away soon. Okay, I think at this point we should be able to start getting some of these numbers. See, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm not seeing anything. And this one's 1, 4, 5, 7. 1, 4, 5, 7. Okay. Oh, I see the next thing. The whole reason that I put this red X here is specifically for this stage. Where does the 1 go in this box? It can't go on the top, it can't go on the bottom because of this one and this one. So it has to go either here or here. But if it were here, then this would be a perfect square, and then the red X should be a green square, but it's not. So 1 has to go there, and that actually also collapses this. And maybe I should have done that first. But again, like I think the order that you do things can show you interesting strategies, maybe. So I'm trying to show you just everything that like I kind of went through and trying to design this puzzle. Okay, so anyway, that's that. And now we're gonna. Oh, now we have enough 1s to block off this 1 box up here, this 1 box up here, 1, and so this is a 1 basically. Like everything else is blocked off. And then if you look at the 7s in this square, this 7 blocks up here, this 7 blocks up here, so it's got to be there. So now it's just 4, 5, 4, 5. But then this 5 is here, so that blocks off. So this whole, our second block will be completed as well. So, oh, and then this top row only has one thing remaining, and that's 5. And then here we have 2, 2, 4, and 6, but we don't really know much about them yet. And then, well, this has a 6 in it, so it's got to be 2 and 4. So that's all we get for now. What's next? I don't know. I was honest. Okay, well, I guess like okay. Let's look at the almost complete columns. So this is 1, 2. Oh, I'm seeing it already. 1, 2, 3, and 6. But there's a 6 and 3, so obviously it's got to go the other way. 3 and 6. And then for this column, what do we have? We have 2. Well, this is gonna be more. It's gonna be 2, 4, 2, 4, 5, 6. Well, I mean, but if we look at it, like, well, I mean, just look at 6 in this box. 6 in this box, basically. This 6 goes shoop, this 6 goes shoop, so it's got to be here. And then, so this is just 2, 4, 5. But then 5 means, yeah, 5. This 5 in this box, shoop, so it's 5 goes here. And then it's just 2 and 4. But we still don't know which one yet, so we'll just do that. And then I think this is one of the last spots that I could fill in. So I'm going to not think about that for now. So if this is 2 and 4, then these two must be 1, 2, 3, and 9. But there's a 3 right here. So we already actually have that solved. So that gives us another thing. And then here, well, then if we look at 9s in this box, everything's coming together now. 9 going shoop, 9 going shoop, and 9 going shoop. This has to be the 9. And this is just 25, and this is 25. Oh, the 1 in this box. See, shoop, 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 shoop. When you have 4 numbers attacking orthogonally, it always reduces you down to just one option left. So that's like satisfying. And 1s are complete. They're like off the board. We don't have to worry about them anymore. Okay, so next we have, okay, let me just keep looking here. 2 doesn't have enough. 5 doesn't. What about 6? Oh, 6 has enough because this 6 goes shoop. This 6 goes shoop. So it has to be here. Also, I might change this so that the tiles for the like phantom numbers isn't gray, because I think that would make it look more visually like obvious that you haven't filled this out yet. So I'll do that, I think. I don't know. I mean, that's up to like personal opinion if that's better or not. Anyway, I'm up to 27 minutes. This is long. I got to speed it up. So we have 7 doesn't have enough to tell yet. 4 doesn't have. Okay, so I think we're kind of done there. Let's look in this box. 2. Let's look here. Oh, and actually, let's do this. I didn't even look at this for the longest time. Wait, hold on. I can just do this whole column, I bet. 1, 2, 2, and 5 are left. Well, 29 and 59 are both prime, so that... Okay, well, I mean, there's a 5 over there. So this is a 2, and this is a 5 then. I mean, that works. 59 is indeed prime. And then we have, what's it left in this row? It's 1, 2, or 3 is... You can see, shoop, shoop. I try to like show you the shoop before typing anything. 1, 2, so we have 2 and 6. So shoop means 6 has to go here, and then 2. And then here, goodbye that. So this has to be, oh no, that means on the bottom row, 2 and 5, you have to have a 2 here, and you have to have a 5 here. So basically I've just been doing normal Sudoku rules for a while now, since all the prime clues have been used up. So we have 7 and 9, but then we have shoop, so it's 7 and 9. And then, okay, things are looking really... Okay, 2 right here means that this is here, like, shoop. So it's 4 and 2. And then this has to be... We have 4, 5, and 9. Wait, no, 4, 5, and 7. Okay, for a second I thought I did things wrong. Actually, this whole row should have just been obvious. There's only one left, 7. So it's 4 and 5, but then this 5 here goes shoop. So it's 4 and 5. Okay, so now okay, and then, wait, hold on. There's a 2, 4, but this has to be a 4, because if there's a 2 here, then that has to be the 4. So this is that right? And then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, yeah, 5. Okay, oh yeah, because of shoop. So then this is 2, and then this is 6. Oh yeah, okay. I remember this is like the last part of the puzzle, and actually the whole reason this X is, I even added it to this puzzle, is because otherwise this actually gets you into like a situation where you can have multiple solutions, and puzzles should never do that. So I mean, if we just list it out, like this row has, well, let's just start from the bottom for the maximum dramatic effect. If we look at this row, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 7. So just type that in, 4, 7, 4, 7. If we look at this row, we have 1, 2, 3, it's 2 and 4. So 2 and 4, 2 and 4. And then if we have this row, it's 2 and 7. And I mean, if you've done a lot of Sudoku puzzles, you know that if you end up in a situation with like this, where it's like every pairing of 3 numbers is like a duo like this, you have 2 valid solutions. But because of this can't be a prime number. And you know, this number that I'm gesturing at is a prime number. So we have to eliminate 7 from the pool. It has to be 62 because 62 is the only non-prime there. So that everything starts to just fall into place. So that becomes a 7. And then on this row here, shoop. So it becomes 4. Oh no, oops. I need to learn this backspace. Shoop. And then obviously this becomes a 4. And this becomes a 2. And we're done. Look, the prime Sudoku has been solved. And I know there's other prime Sudokus out there. Like there are puzzles where it'll be like a box, like a cage. That cage is like 3 or 4 numbers together, and it says this adds up to a prime number. So I have seen those, and those are also interesting. But I wanted to do one that more involved like spelling out the primes. Like, you know, if you intimately know this diagram and you just can get a feel like, oh yeah, I know like there's a whole bunch of 3s here. Like I can use that to my advantage. Or I know there's not many 9s here. Like that, like I want you to be able to use that fact, like that intuition that you kind of get by studying math a lot, to like use it for your Sudoku skills. So there we go. That's the solution for the puzzle. I can press shift to make the highlight go away. You can take your screenshots. But yeah, like if you solved it yourself, you know, I'm really proud of you, and I'm really happy because like I spent, you know, a few hours designing it, and I didn't know if like other people would want to give it a shot. So we'll see if people want to give it a shot. And if you want to design your own prime puzzles, you can also edit this too. I didn't make it super user friendly. Oh, it's upside down now. Oh, okay, weird. But like basically every 2 rows of text corresponds to 1 row of the board, where it kind of reads across, but it goes horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical. And then 0 means no symbol connection, 1 means purple dash, 2 means green square, and 3 means red cross. So I think you can like tinker around that to like figure out what looks fun. Yeah, let me just like bask in the glory, like or I don't know, actually it sounded like I was screaming, not like I was trying to do angelic singing, but it sounded like I was screaming. But if you just put like 1s across the top here, if I hit new puzzle, it's gonna reset this. So let me just make sure like this is a valid solution really quick, so I don't like embarrass. Whoa! Oh, okay. Well, it put a bunch of 1s here because that's okay. That's a bad UI design thing. Like if you type in numbers here, it'll also type it down here. But like, I can't be bothered. Anyway, if you click a new puzzle, it'll reset it. So goodbye, boop. You can see that all the 1s here turn into purple dashes on top, because purple dash is 1. And then if I change these all to 2s on the next row, that's gonna make all the vertical ones into green squares, which I don't think, this is not a valid puzzle anymore, but like it just shows you how it works. Also, yeah, the code or the website does not check for if you finished the puzzle, or if you have a valid solution, or if you have any errors. It doesn't do any of that. It's basically like a glorified like MS Paint. Like all it does is it lets you draw stuff and lets you like visually see where things fall into place, but it won't do any of the math for you. And yeah, I did this kind of like annoying thing where like the tiles kind of like waver up and down slowly, just to kind of make it look like it's breathing a bit. So I don't know if that's distracting, but I thought it looked good. I don't like how there's like a disconnect, but I didn't want to do like interpolation. Like I wanted to finish this before the day ended. Now it's like 2:20 a.m. So clearly I'm not going to spend any more time on this. But yeah, thank you for watching this video if you're a fan of Sudoku, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.